The drip from the kitchen faucet had been driving me insane for 3 weeks. Funny how the smallest things become mountains when your world's about to collapse. I was elbow deep in pipe fittings when I heard Ivy giggling in the living room with her sister Karen. "He has no idea what's coming," Ivy whispered, her voice carrying that cruel edge I'd been hearing more often lately. "On his birthday, too," Karen snickered. "That's cold, even for you." I froze, wrench halfway to the coupling. Nothing says happy 40th like a legal ambush, apparently. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name's Cole Rankin, and I run a small renovation business here in Millbrook. 20 years of marriage, calloused hands, and a mortgage that keeps me awake at night. Ivy worked, as an assistant at Prestige Realty, selling dreams to families who actually love each other. "Are you sure about the timing?" Karen asked. "Owen thinks it's perfect. Strike while he's emotional and off guard." Owen. Karen's husband, my brother-in-law, the guy who borrowed my tools and never returned them. The same Owen who'd been showing up to our barbecues with increasingly expensive watches despite working part-time at the marina. I'd noticed things. Ivy's knew Victoria's Secret purchases when we hadn't been intimate in months. Her phone face down during dinner, late showings that lasted until midnight. The way she and Karen exchanged looks when Owen cracked his stupid jokes. If sarcasm was currency, I'd be a billionaire. Too bad Ivy was spending my real cash on Owen's bar tabs. "The papers are ready," Ivy continued. "He'll sign them. He always does what I want when he's caught off guard." "What about the house?" "Owen says I'm entitled to half of everything, maybe more, considering how Cole's been neglecting me." Neglecting her? I worked 60-hour weeks to pay for her shopping habits and her sister's constant emergencies. Last month, I'd given Karen $2,000 for her car repairs that somehow turned into a spa weekend in Boston. I set down the wrench carefully, my hands steady despite the rage building in my chest. So that's 20 years of marriage, and this was how it ended, with whispers and conspiracies on my birthday. "He's going to be devastated," Karen said, but she didn't sound sorry. She sounded excited. "He'll get over it. Cole's tougher than he looks." Actually, I was exactly as tough as I looked, and I was about to prove it. The birthday party was set for Saturday night. Nothing fancy, just family and a few friends at the house. Ivy had insisted on planning everything, which should have been my first clue. She never planned anything unless it benefited her. I spent the next 3 days quietly gathering information. Bank statements showed cash withdrawals I hadn't made. Our joint credit card had charges at restaurants I'd never been to, always for 2 people, always during Ivy's work hours. I borrowed my buddy Jake's phone and followed Ivy to one of her late showings on Thursday night. Instead of a house, she met Owen at Rossetti's, the Italian place downtown. I snapped photos of them holding hands across the table, sharing dessert like teenagers. The pictures were grainy but clear enough. Owen's wedding ring was conspicuously absent. Saturday arrived gray and drizzling, which felt appropriate. Ivy had invited about 15 people, Karen and Owen, my crew from work, a few neighbors, some friends from her real estate office. She'd even made my favorite cake, chocolate with buttercream frosting. Guilt cake, apparently. "Happy birthday, honey," she said, kissing my cheek as guests arrived. Her perfume was different, something expensive and cloying. "Thanks, sweetheart. This is really thoughtful." Owen showed up fashionably late, carrying a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my monthly beer budget. "Hey, brother," he said, clapping me on the back. "The big 4-0. How's it feel?" "Enlightening," I said. "Really eye-opening." Karen was practically vibrating with anticipation, checking her watch every 5 minutes. She kept whispering to Ivy, both of them glancing at me like vultures circling an easy target. We made it through dinner and cake. My crew told embarrassing stories about job sites. Mrs. Bixley from next door complained about teenagers parking on her lawn. Normal suburban birthday stuff, except for the execution planned for dessert. "Cole," Ivy said, standing up and tapping her wine glass. "I have a special surprise for you." The room went quiet. Karen was filming with her phone, which should have been another red flag. Ivy reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. "I've been thinking a lot about our future lately, about what we both need to be happy." She handed me the envelope with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Open it." I knew what it was before I broke the seal. Divorce papers, signed and notarized, with a property settlement that gave her everything we'd built together. The house, half my business, alimony that would cripple me financially. The room was silent. My friend Jake looked confused. Mrs. Bixley had her hand over her mouth in shock. Fascinating, I said, setting the papers on the coffee table. Especially since you've been meeting with your lawyer. Here, I have receipts. I pulled out my phone and showed the photos from Thursday night. Ivy and Owen, hands intertwined, Owen leaning over to kiss her forehead. Karen's face crumpled like a deflated balloon. The phone fell from her hands. Cole, I can explain, Ivy started. Oh, I'm sure you can. You always were creative. I stood up, addressing the room. Ladies and gentlemen, my wife has been sleeping with her sister's husband, for months, apparently. They planned this little birthday surprise together. Owen was backing toward the door, his face pale. Cole, man, it's not what it looks like. It looks like you're screwing my wife and stealing my money to pay for dinners I can't afford. How exactly is it different? Karen was crying now, mascara streaming down her cheeks. Owen, is this true? The party disintegrated quickly after that. People grabbed their coats and fled like the house was on fire. Jake squeezed my shoulder on his way out. If you need anything, call me. Mrs. Bixley paused at the door. I always knew that girl was trouble, Cole. You deserve better. When everyone was gone, Ivy tried to salvage the situation. Please don't say anything to anyone else, she begged. We can work this out quietly. No one else needs to know. I looked at her. Really looked, for the first time in years. She was still beautiful, but there was something cold in her eyes, something calculating that had always been there. I'd just been too in love to see it. You started this game, I said quietly. My turn? Monday morning, I was at the bank when it opened. I moved fast, opened new accounts, canceled joint credit cards, and transferred my business funds to accounts Ivy couldn't touch. 20 years of marriage teaches you someone's social security number and mother's maiden name. Ivy's first mistake was underestimating me. Her second was trusting Owen with anything important. I drove to my office, a converted garage behind Miller's Hardware where I kept my tools and ran my business. The crew was already there. Jake, Tommy, and Marcus, good guys who'd worked with me for years. Boss, what the hell happened Saturday night? Tommy asked. Karen looked like she'd seen a ghost. She had. The ghost of her marriage. I poured coffee from the ancient pot we kept on a hot plate. Turns out Ivy and Owen have been playing house while we've been playing fools. Jake whistled low. Jesus, Cole, I'm sorry. Don't be, I'm not. That wasn't entirely true. 20 years doesn't evaporate overnight, even when it ends with betrayal. But anger is a useful emotion when channeled properly. I spent the morning making calls. Ivy's boss at Prestige Realty was a sleazy guy named Rick Hoffman, who'd been hitting on married women for years. He also had a wife who didn't know about his extracurricular activities. Rick, this is a friend. You might want to check your assistant's expense reports. She's been using company funds for personal entertainment. I had the receipts. Ivy had been charging client dinners to the company card, dinners that were actually dates with Owen. My phone buzzed. Text from Ivy. We need to talk. This doesn't have to be ugly. I texted back. Too late for that? Tuesday night, I was at Flanagan's, the sports bar where half the town drinks and all the town's business gets discussed. Owen's Mustang was in the parking lot, which meant he was inside drowning his sorrows. I waited until closing time, then followed him to his car. The lot was empty except for us and the bartender's pickup truck. Owen, I called out. He turned, keys in his hand. Cole, look, I'm sorry about... I didn't let him finish. I backed my pickup truck into his precious Mustang, hard enough to crumple the rear quarter panel and shatter the taillight. Oops, I said, rolling down my window. Guess Mustangs aren't built Ford tough after all. Owen was screaming, but I was already driving away. Let him call the cops. It was dark, no witnesses, and accidents happen in parking lots all the time. Wednesday, Ivy called me at work, crying. Rick suspended me, she sobbed. Someone told him about the expense reports. Cole, I could lose my job. Karma moves fast in this town, I said, and hung up. Thursday was family dinner at Karen and Owen's house, a weekly tradition that had survived divorces, job losses, and various family dramas. I almost didn't go, but curiosity won. Karen answered the door with red-rimmed eyes. Cole, I wasn't sure you'd come. Wouldn't miss it. The dining room was a war zone. Karen sat at one end of the table, Owen at the other, with about 6 feet of hostile silence between them. Ivy looked like she'd been crying for days. So, I said, cutting into my pot roast, how's everyone's week going? Don't, Ivy warned. Don't what? Make conversation? We're family, right? One big, happy, incestuous family. Karen slammed her fork down. Owen, tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't sleep with my sister. Owen looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Karen, honey, don't honey me. Did you sleep with her or not? It just happened, he mumbled. We didn't plan it. You didn't plan it? Karen's voice was rising. You didn't plan the hotel rooms, the dinners, the lies? Maybe you two can share the couch, I suggested. There's room for all the lies. Karen threw her water glass at Owen. It shattered against the wall behind his head, leaving a wet stain on the wallpaper. Get out, she screamed. Get out of my house. Owen left. Ivy tried to follow, but Karen blocked her path. You too. Both of you, get out. I never want to see either of you again. Friday night at Flanagan's was packed. Half the town was there, watching the game and catching up on gossip. I bought a round for the house and stood up to make a toast. Ladies and gentlemen, I called out, raising my beer, I'd like to thank my wife Ivy and my brother-in-law Owen for showing me what 20 years of marriage is really worth. The bar went quiet. Turns out it's worth about 6 months of hotel bills and restaurant tabs. They've been screwing each other while screwing me out of my savings. So here's to Ivy and Owen. May they get exactly what they deserve. I drained my beer. The bar erupted in whispers and shocked laughter. By tomorrow, everyone in town would know. Saturday morning, my phone rang. Ivy was hysterical. Rick fired me, she cried. Someone sent him copies of all the expense reports, highlighted the fraudulent charges. Cole, I'm ruined. You ruined yourself, I said. I just helped speed up the process. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll do anything. Anything except tell the truth when it mattered. I hung up and poured another cup of coffee. Outside, Mrs. Bixley was watering her flowers and pretending not to watch my house. The whole neighborhood was buzzing with the scandal. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check Ivy's email. Password is Owen2019. You're welcome. Someone was helping me, but I didn't know who. I logged into Ivy's email and found months of correspondence with Rick Hoffman. Not just about the expense reports. They'd been planning something bigger. The emails revealed that Rick had been using Ivy to get inside information about my business. Client lists, bid amounts, financial details. They'd been planning to start their own renovation company using my contacts and undercutting my prices. There was more. Rick had been sleeping with Ivy too. She'd been juggling 2 affairs while planning to divorce me and steal my business. It was like a soap opera, if all the actors were idiots. Sunday, I printed everything and put it in a manila envelope. Then I drove to Rick's house in the expensive part of town and left it on his doorstep with a note. Thought your wife might find this interesting. I'd always been the good guy, reliable Cole, steady Cole, the guy who fixed everyone's problems and never asked for anything in return. But good guys finish last, and I was tired of losing. Monday morning, I embraced my inner villain. I started with social media, posted the photos of Ivy and Owen on Facebook with the caption, "When your wife and brother-in-law think they're being sneaky. 20 years of marriage, everyone. This is how it ends." The post went viral locally. Comments poured in. Shock, sympathy, and a surprising amount of, I always knew something was off about those two. Ivy's friends from the real estate office started distancing themselves. Her Instagram posts went from dozens of likes to single digits. Karen filed for divorce, citing emotional cruelty and infidelity, using the evidence I'd provided. Tuesday, I was at Miller's Hardware picking up supplies when Owen cornered me in the loading bay. He looked terrible. Unshaven, red eyes, clothes that hadn't been changed in days. "You're destroying my life," he said. "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just revealing what was already there." Karen threw me out. "I'm sleeping in my car." "That's unfortunate. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to sleep with my wife." Owen stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. Bad choice. I've been swinging hammers and hauling lumber for 20 years. Owen sells boat insurance and plays weekend warrior. I grabbed a bag of concrete mix and slammed it down on his feet. He yelped and stumbled backward, his phone clattering across the concrete floor. I stepped on it, grinding the screen under my work boot. "Next time you steal something from me," I said quietly, "I'll take something you actually value. What's left of it anyway?" Owen limped away, leaving his shattered phone behind. Wednesday brought more revelations. I'd been monitoring Ivy's email and found encrypted messages with Rick Hoffman. They weren't just planning to steal my business, they'd already started. Rick had been feeding my client information to competitors, undercutting my bids, and costing me jobs. The corruption went deeper than adultery. It was organized theft. I called my lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Wells, who'd handled my business contracts for years. "Patricia, hypothetically, if someone used their position at a real estate company to steal confidential business information and share it with competitors, what kind of legal trouble would they be in?" "Hypothetically, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, conspiracy, We're talking serious jail time if you can prove it. What if I had emails? Then hypothetically, someone's going to prison. Thursday evening, Ivy showed up at my house. She looked broken. No makeup, hair unwashed, wearing sweatpants in desperation. Cole, please. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Multiple mistakes. Over several months, with multiple people. She started crying. The kind of ugly crying that might have moved me 6 months ago. Now it just irritated me. I'll do anything to fix this. We can start over. You want to start over? Fine. Start by explaining why you and Rick were stealing my client information. Her face went white. How did you... I know everything, Ivy. The affairs, the theft, the plan to steal my business. You didn't just cheat on me. You tried to destroy me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Rick said we could build something together, something better than what you had. Using my work, my contacts, my reputation, while I was home thinking we were building a marriage. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say it again. Tell me about the plan to steal my business. Cole, don't say it, or I post everything online. The emails, the photos, all of it. Your choice. She confessed everything. Rick's plan, her role in it, the money they'd already stolen. I had it all on video, her admitting to fraud and conspiracy. If you try to take anything else from me, I said when she finished, this video goes to the police and the internet. Are we clear? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Friday, I discovered the real scope of the conspiracy. Hidden in Ivy's deleted emails were messages between her, Rick, and Owen. They'd been planning this for almost a year, slowly gathering information and setting up their own company. But there was something else. Messages between Rick and someone else, someone whose name was blacked out in the email headers. A fourth conspirator I hadn't identified. The messages revealed that Rick had been blackmailing Ivy and Owen, forcing them to steal more than they'd originally agreed to. He had something on both of them, something that gave him complete control. Saturday night, I was at Flanagan's when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meet me in the parking lot. Come alone. You want to know who's really behind this. I finished my beer and walked outside. Karen was waiting by my truck, smoking a cigarette with shaking hands. Karen? You sent the emails? I've been helping you all along, she said. Rick's been blackmailing me too. Blackmailing you? For what? I've been skimming money from the charity I run. Small amounts, just enough to pay for things Owen couldn't afford. Rick found out and threatened to expose me unless I helped him get information about your business. The pieces clicked into place. Karen had access to all the family financial information through her charity work. She'd been feeding Rick details about my business for months. But then I found out about Ivy and Owen, she continued. Rick was using my information to destroy you while my husband was sleeping with your wife. I couldn't let that happen. So you decided to burn it all down. They used me, Cole. All of them. Rick, Ivy, Owen. They thought I was just the stupid sister who'd do whatever they wanted. So I gave you the tools to destroy them. She dropped the cigarette and ground it under her heel. There's more. Rick's been planning to frame you for the theft. He has forged documents that make it look like you've been embezzling from your own clients. What? He's going to present them at the town council meeting next week. He wants to destroy your reputation so thoroughly that you'll never work in this town again. The town council meeting. Of course. Rick was on the council, had been for years. He could present his evidence to the entire town leadership, destroy my reputation in one night. We have to stop him, I said. Karen smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it looked genuine. Oh, we're going to do more than stop him. We're going to destroy him. The Millbrook Community Center was packed for the monthly town council meeting. Rick Hoffman sat at the council table in his expensive suit, looking confident and righteous. He had no idea what was coming. I'd spent the weekend preparing with Karen's help. She'd provided the final pieces of evidence I needed. Bank records showing Rick's embezzlement from multiple accounts, email chains proving the conspiracy, and most damning of all, the forged documents he planned to use against me. The meeting will come to order, announced Mayor Patricia Reeves. First item of business is a report from Councilman Hoffman regarding alleged financial irregularities in local contracting. Rick stood up, shuffling his papers with theatrical concern. Thank you, Mayor Reeves. I've discovered some troubling evidence regarding Cole Rankin's business practices. He pulled out a folder thick with documents. These records show systematic overcharging of clients, use of substandard materials while billing for premium products, and possible embezzlement of funds intended for municipal projects. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I saw Mrs. Bixley shaking her head, Jake clenching his fists, and other neighbors looking confused and disappointed. These are serious allegations, the mayor said. Oh, Mr. Rankin, would you like to respond? I stood up slowly, pulling out my own folder. I'd love to respond, Rick, but first, I think everyone should know who's really been embezzling money in this town. I walked to the front of the room and connected my laptop to the projection screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to show you some emails. The first email appeared on screen, Rick to Ivy, discussing the plan to steal my client information. Gasps echoed through the room. This is from 6 months ago, I said. Councilman Hoffman conspiring with my wife to steal confidential business information and share it with my competitors. I clicked to the next email. Here's Rick instructing my wife to copy my client files and financial records. Rick was on his feet. This is fabricated. These emails are fake. Really? Because they came from your email account, the one the city IT department can verify. I clicked through more emails, each one more damning than the last. The room was silent except for the clicking of my laptop keys. But wait, there's more, I said, channeling my inner infomercial host. Rick wasn't just stealing from me, he was stealing from everyone. The next series of emails showed Rick's embezzlement from city accounts, charity funds, and business partnerships, hundreds of thousands of dollars over several years. He's been using his position on the town council to steal from municipal projects, then blaming contractors like me when the money came up short. Rick was backing toward the door, his face pale and sweaty. You can't prove any of this. Actually, I can. I clicked to a video file. Because your co-conspirators confessed. The video of Ivy admitting to the theft played on the big screen. Her voice filled the room as she detailed Rick's plan, her role in it, and the money they'd stolen. This is illegal recording, Rick shouted. This can't be used as evidence. You're right, I said. But it can be used as public information. And speaking of public information, I clicked to the final file. Financial records showing Rick's personal accounts, including money transferred from city funds to his offshore banking. These records show that Councilman Hoffman has stolen over $300,000 from this town over the past 5 years, money that was supposed to go to road repairs, school funding, and municipal improvements. The room erupted. People were shouting, demanding answers, calling for Rick's arrest. Mayor Reeves was banging her gavel, trying to restore order. Rick made a run for it. He bolted toward the exit, but Jake and Tommy were waiting for him. They didn't touch him, just blocked his path until the police arrived. Cole Rankin, Mayor Reeves called out. How did you obtain these records? Through careful investigation and the help of concerned citizens who were tired of being robbed by people they trusted. I looked directly at Karen, who was sitting in the back row with tears streaming down her face. She'd risked everything to help me expose the truth. The documents Councilman Hoffman was planning to present tonight are forgeries, I continued. I have the originals in my possession, along with evidence of how they were altered. The police led Rick away in handcuffs. He was screaming about false accusations and illegal evidence, but nobody was listening. The crowd was too busy demanding answers about their stolen tax money. As the meeting dissolved into chaos, I packed up my laptop and headed for the door. Ivy was waiting in the parking lot, looking desperate and defeated. Cole, please. I cooperated with you. I gave you what you wanted. You gave me what I already had. The truth. What happens now? Now you live with the consequences of your choices. You lost your job, your marriage, your reputation, and probably your freedom. Rick's going to prison, and he'll take you and Owen with him. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. I got in my truck and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot under the harsh glare of the security lights. The next morning, my phone was ringing nonstop. Local news wanted interviews, clients were calling to apologize for doubting me, and the mayor wanted to discuss recovering the stolen municipal funds. Jake showed up at my office with coffee and donuts. Boss, you're famous. Channel 7 wants to do a story about how you exposed the corruption. I don't want to be famous. I just want to work. Well, you're going to have plenty of work. Half the town wants to hire you now that they know Rick was sabotaging your bids. My phone buzzed with a text from Karen. Thank you. Owen's been arrested. Rick's wife filed for divorce. It's over. Almost over, I thought. There was still one more thing I needed to do. The Millbrook Community Center was hosting its annual charity auction, the biggest social event of the year. Everyone would be there, the people who'd supported me, the people who'd doubted me, and most importantly, the people who'd betrayed me. Ivy showed up looking desperate and defiant, wearing a dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. She was trying to maintain appearances even as her world crumbled around her. Owen wasn't there. He was in jail awaiting trial for fraud and conspiracy. Rick was also behind bars, his political career and freedom destroyed by his own greed, but Ivy was still free, still pretending to be the victim in this mess. The auction was in full swing when I took the stage. Mayor Reeves handed me the microphone with a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say a few words about truth, justice, and the American way. Laughter rippled through the crowd. They thought I was making a joke. A month ago, my wife handed me divorce papers at my birthday party. She thought she was going to take half of everything I'd worked for while continuing her affair with my brother-in-law. The laughter faded. The room went silent. But what she didn't know was that I'd been watching, learning, gathering evidence of her betrayal. Not just the adultery, the theft, the conspiracy, the plan to destroy my business and my reputation. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the sound system. I'd like to share a conversation I recorded with my wife, where she admits to helping Rick Hoffman steal from this town. Ivy's confession played through the speakers, her voice echoing through the packed auditorium. People turned to stare at her, their faces showing disgust and betrayal. But that's not all, I continued. I also have video evidence of the conspiracy. The big screen behind me lit up with security camera footage from Rick's office, showing Ivy copying files and passing them to Owen. The timestamp showed this had been going on for months. These people didn't just betray me, they betrayed all of you. They stole your tax money, sabotaged local businesses, and corrupted the democratic process. Ivy was trying to leave, pushing through the crowd toward the exit, but the crowd wasn't letting her pass. People were blocking her path, demanding answers. "Where's she going?" someone shouted. "Make her explain." "I think she's explained enough," I said. "But there's one more thing." I clicked to the final video, security footage from the hotel where Ivy and Rick had been meeting, not just for business, but for their own affair. The footage showed them entering and leaving together, kissing in the hallway, behaving like lovers. My wife wasn't just stealing with Rick Hoffman, she was sleeping with him too, while also sleeping with her sister's husband. She was running a 3-person con game, and we were all marks. The crowd turned ugly. People were shouting, demanding justice, calling for Ivy's arrest. She was trapped in the middle of the room, surrounded by angry neighbors and former friends. Owen burst through the emergency exit, having apparently escaped from police custody. He was wild-eyed and desperate, still wearing his orange jail jumpsuit. "You destroyed everything," he screamed at me. "My marriage, my life, everything." He rushed the stage, trying to tackle me. I sidestepped easily, and Owen crashed into the podium, sending it toppling into the orchestra pit. The sound of splintering wood and crashing cymbals filled the auditorium. Owen struggled to his feet, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. "This is all your fault." "My fault? I didn't make you sleep with my wife. I didn't make you steal money. I didn't make you lie to your wife for months. You were supposed to just take it, just sign the papers and disappear. Sorry to disappoint you." Owen charged again, this time swinging wildly. I ducked, and his momentum carried him into the buffet table. He crashed through the shrimp display and landed face first in the chocolate fountain. The crowd was cheering now, enjoying the spectacle of Owen covered in chocolate and cocktail sauce, flailing around like a beached whale. Security guards were finally moving in, but I wasn't done yet. I walked outside to the parking lot where Rick's Mercedes was parked in the VIP section. The same Mercedes he'd bought with stolen city funds. I picked up a crowbar from my truck and approached the car methodically. The crowd had followed me outside, forming a circle around the expensive vehicle. "This car was purchased with money stolen from your road repair fund," I announced, raising the crowbar. "I think it's time for some repairs of our own." I brought the crowbar down on the windshield, spider-webbing the glass. The crowd cheered. I smashed the side windows, the headlights, the taillights. Each impact felt like justice, like 20 years of frustration and betrayal being released through the destruction of Rick's symbol of corruption. "This is for the stolen school funds," I said, crushing the side mirror. "This is for the sabotaged business deals," I continued, denting the hood. "And this is for thinking you could destroy me and get away with it," I finished, bringing the crowbar down on the roof. The car was totaled, a twisted wreck of metal and glass. The crowd was cheering, taking pictures, celebrating the destruction of corruption. Police sirens were approaching, but I didn't care. I'd made my point. Mayor Reeves approached me as I set down the crowbar. "Cole, you know I can't officially condone this." "I understand. But unofficially, that car was evidence of theft, and evidence sometimes gets damaged during investigation." She winked and walked away. The police arrested Owen for escaping custody and Ivy for conspiracy and fraud. Rick's corruption had been exposed, the stolen money would be recovered, and justice was finally being served. As the crowd dispersed and the police cars drove away, Karen approached me. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything. Thank you for helping me find the truth. What happens now? Now we rebuild. Our lives, our businesses, our trust in people. It won't be easy, but it'll be honest." She hugged me, and for the first time in months, I felt like the good guy again. Not because I'd won, but because I'd fought for the truth and refused to be destroyed by people who thought they were smarter than me. 6 months later, my business was thriving. Word had spread about how I'd exposed the corruption, and clients were coming from 3 counties away. Ivy and Owen were serving prison sentences for fraud and conspiracy. Rick got 15 years for embezzlement and corruption. Karen and I remained friends, both of us rebuilding our lives after the betrayal. She'd started a legitimate charity to help other victims of financial fraud. I never remarried. 20 years of marriage had taught me to be cautious about trust. But I was content, working with my hands, building things that would last, surrounded by people who valued honesty over convenience. Sometimes the good guys do win. You just have to be willing to fight like the villain to get there. In this town, you don't stab backs. You bring a sledgehammer,